Another paycheck gone before you know it? Is debt keeping you up at night? Does dealing with money make you feel lost or even a little clueless? Hey, it's more common than you think, and you're definitely in the right place. TSBA is your financial starting line. No shame, no confusing jargon. Just clear direction to build confidence and take control. Let's get started together. All right, kids, welcome back to TSBA, where we talk about money, finances, budgeting, and all kinds of stuff like that. All right, so this is not I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy who retired early and who is trying to help others retire early by sharing information that I know. And I suggest that when you find information and you discover information and learn things, it's best to share it with friends and family so that you can help them. And together, if we work together, we can do much, much better. All right, kids, we got to talk about money, so let's do it. Okay, so today we're going to talk about ETFs versus stocks. So ETF is an exchange traded fund. Okay. One of the big benefits of this is that it's like a basket. It holds a lot of assets. And you can hold it in a variety of basically commodities. I mean, you can hold, dozens, hundreds, even thousands of stocks in here. I can hold bonds, electric companies, stores, oil companies, all kinds of stuff. And you can have an ETF can have all the sectors. So it's great for diversification, and it does reduce risk. For example, if you own an ETF, and and it holds, let's say, it holds Costco, Walmart, and then it holds oil, and it holds electricity, and it holds other things. If one sector does not so well, it's not going to affect the entire ETF. You can kind of balance it out because of the diversification, right? It reduces risk. Like I said, if one stock does bad in an ETF, it doesn't affect the overall investment. It just minimizes the risk because it's a larger fund. Buying individual stock basically means that you're concentrating your investment in one single area, one single company, which can be good if you find or are lucky enough to find a good company. And there are a lot of good companies out there. I mean, I invested in Costco. I invested in Superstore, invested in Walmart. I'm not telling you to invest in these. I'm just telling you where I've invested in the past. And I've also invested in some, what I thought were solid companies. BCE, which is Bell Canada, TELUS. I was unlucky enough to buy really high, and I'm holding on to those. I'm down on those right now a little bit, but I'm holding on. They pay good dividends, and so I'm not panicking. So you can make good decisions. You can make bad decisions. At the beginning, I got a little excited. When I was first buying, I thought I was going to create my own ETF. I thought I'm just going to buy all these stocks and that I think I can do good in, and I'll be a genius. And over the years, I found that it's better personally for me to invest in ETFs because it has generally a lower risk because of the diversification, and you're not building your portfolio based on the performance of a single company. So one thing I like about ETFs is the lower risk. Generally, that's a common denominator out there for that. ETFs have expenses. There are fees that you have to pay, but ETFs tend to have lower management fees. Most of mine are below 0.05% annually, which is, I mean, less than half. I mean, it's almost. I mean, I think my highest one is, I think, 0.39% annually, which is not too shabby. So the expense ratios are really low on ETFs. Stocks good thing about that is they have no ongoing expense. Once you own the stock, you own the stock. The most expensive part is brokerage commissions when you buy and when you sell. That's about where you're going to pay most of your fees. Also, there's a lot of places out there when you buy ETFs, they don't even charge you to buy ETFs. Like the trading platform that I use doesn't charge me to buy ETFs. It just sells me to sell. It just charges me to sell them. ETFs are easy to use. Okay, that is definitely a bonus. They're just like stocks. You can buy them and you can sell them, and it's easier to build, like I said, a diversified portfolio with just a few ETFs. I mean, I've got a fair amount of ETFs. I would say I probably hold uh, probably 15 to 20 different ETFs um, in every segment. I like the variety there. I also tend to purchase ETFs that are dividend paying because I live on my dividends. We'll talk about dividends later. When we'll talk, obviously, we're going to talk more about stuff like this, but we'll talk about dividends a little bit later if that's complicated. Basically, dividends is part of the profit that the company makes, and they share it with you. And they'll either share it with you monthly, or they'll share it with you quarterly, or they'll share it with you semi-annually or annually. Depends. Most of my ETFs pay out monthly and quarterly, which means every 3 months. Um, so when you're buying ETFs, it's very simple. You would do it the same way you would buy a stock. Stocks, again, are very simple to buy. But it's hard to make a diversified portfolio when you're buying stocks, right? I can purchase like one ETF that does the entire market right from top to bottom, all the sectors. If you're going to try and do that with stocks, it's probably going to cost you a little more, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult to build because you really got to do a lot of research on that. So again, as one person said to me in the past, he's like, why should I bother trying to create my own ETF when they're already out there? I'll let somebody else do the work. And when he said that to me, I was in the process of building my own ETF with individual stocks. And I realized, like I've made a few mistakes, and I was like, damn it, wish I hadn't have bought Oatly, when it first came out. I'm down 90% on that. Now, I didn't put a shitload of money in it, but, losing money is losing money either way, right? So there are companies that I've purchased that I regret doing. All in all, I'm up, thank God. But I do tend to take a percentage of my portfolio and put it into high risk, which is, try and go for make a little bit of extra money on that. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But like that's why I said now, over the years, I've just built my portfolio and it's mostly ETFs. I've got a few stocks left over. I used to hold a lot of Costco stocks. Started buying those at $40 a stock. And I mean, they went as high as, the other day they were about, 1,100 or something like that. So, you can get lucky too, you can get lucky. So, yeah. So, but now as I get older and because I'm retired, and I like security and I like stability, I try and go with ETFs a lot more. Um, yeah, so that's basically yeah. So ETFs, again, you can do specific industries. So you can buy an ETF that just does technology, or it just does clean energy, or it just does healthcare. You can do specific regions. You can do emerging markets. You can pick a specific country. So that's always a bonus. Like there's some ETFs I buy that are like, again, the S&P 500 in the United States, the Magnificent Seven, and other places, other things like that. I've got some that do emerging markets. I do some international. I do some Australian. I try, not a lot. I try and kind of, but I try and diversify everywhere. and again, like I said before, I have the majority of my ETFs are dividend paying. I think actually all of my ETFs are dividend paying. They all pay me out a little bit of money. Some pay me out 1%, others pay me out 11%. So there are bonuses to that, right? Um, and again, you can buy specific assets, things like bonds. Like I have some older friends of mine who are, don't want to lose their money because they're in retirement and they're um, they tend to be a little more nervous when they're saving their money. So, bonds, ETF that hold bonds are usually pretty good to hold your money that way. I do some real estate because I don't want to buy apartment buildings, so I buy apartment building ETFs, which are called REITs. I believe they're pronounced REITs. I'm not sure. It's REIT. So that's a REIT. And again, you can buy stocks that do that too. I mean, you can pick stocks within each sector if you want and build your own portfolio. But like my buddy said, somebody's already done the work. Why mess with it, right? And again, if you're a beginner, I think that ETFs are the way to go. ETFs they're pretty transparent. If you buy an ETF, you're going to see a list of all the holdings that the company has. When you buy your ETF, you can see, you can click on the information of the package, and it'll show you all of the company. Like you can Google the companies that if you buy like ZSP or something like that, equal weight banks or something. I think that's ZEB. That's equal weight bank. So for Canada, that holds the major banks in Canada. And you can see what the ETF holds and the percentage it holds of which company, which is a bonus. I like that. And of course, stocks. Well, the stock you own. It's not that complicated. Liquidity, which is basically how easy it is to sell, how easy it is to buy, mostly to sell when you need the money. ETFs are very liquid. I haven't ever had a problem selling an ETF ever. Stocks, on the other hand, now the big companies are pretty easy to sell. I mean, if you own Costco, Walmart, Superstore, EN or Enbridge or anything like that, Amazon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like the big companies that everybody knows, those are pretty easy to sell. If you're buying emerging markets, sometimes those are a little more difficult to sell because like I bought into some new companies years ago. And then all of a sudden they put the company's not doing so well and they put a freeze on it and I can't buy and I can't sell, especially sell that specific stock, right? Which, kind of got me a little nervous at the beginning. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? And so that's when I learned about, new companies aren't always easy to sell, if you get stuck with them. Um, Let me see. So what are some of the drawbacks of ETFs? I would say some of the drawbacks, the biggest drawback, I would say, is the upside potential. So like I said with Costco, I started buying those at $40, and I sold them. They went as high as $1,000, right? Just over $1,000. So that's a bonus, right? When you own that stock. Now, if I own an ETF that holds Costco, I'm not going to be making that much of an increase in my. I mean, you're not going to make a 2,000% increase on that ETF because Costco makes a 2,000% increase, right? So there is upside. The upside is it's a little less because you're also because you have so many companies, they all have to do good at the same time for you to get like tons and tons of money. But if you do something like the S&P 500, which has an average of 10% over I believe the last 100 years, it has about a gain of about 10% over the long run. You should be able to do pretty good with ETFs that way. I did mention that there are fees with ETFs, so that kind of takes a bit of your profit there. But again, you got to look at it with security and safety involved. Let's see what else we got. I guess you got less control with the companies that you own in an ETF, right? So if you own, again, I'm just using, Costco, Walmart, the big names out there. If you own those, you can just sell them. I mean, you own them, you own them, and you can sell them. If you have an ETF that has companies that you might not approve of and whatnot, then that, you don't really have control, right? So you have to kind of pick and choose your ETFs that make you happy. So, I would say ETFs, um, if you want to have diversification and reduce your risk, I think that ETF is the way you want to go. If you want simple, convenient, and a cost effective way to invest, ETFs are the way to go. If you want exposure to specific markets or segments or specific investment strategies that you have, like you just want to own a lot of grocery stores, let's say, ETFs allow you to do that. And you know what? If you're a beginner, it's a very good way to do it passively to go into the market. If you want to go with straight stocks, you got to be willing to take on more risk. But you can also get higher returns, right? I mean, if you look at the Walmart stock over the last, 15, 20 years, I mean, if you bought Walmart or Amazon, at the beginning, right? Maybe, it can make you a multimillionaire, right? Um, so those are some of the things that you want to look at for stocks, right? You got to be able to be ready to take risk and loss. And I think Warren Buffett said something really intelligent. He said, well, he said a lot of intelligent things, but one of the things he said is, like if you just buy what you know, buy what you know. If you know a company, you like a company, you use a company, then don't be afraid to buy it, right? Now, I'm not saying that you go ahead and do that because, I mean, you might like a company that's going to, you really like it for whatever reason, but, it doesn't do so well, right? My daughter invested in Beyond Meat when it first came out, and it's beyond good. It's not good at all. You know what I'm saying? Um, so, yeah, but you make those mistakes, right? You make those mistakes, you learn. So, again, if she had bought an ETF that had Beyond Meat in it, and when Beyond Meat went from $100 to $4, she wouldn't have lost as much money. Now, that's it's part of the game we play, right? Stocks give you more control over your investments, obviously, if you own what company. Um, and then, it's about really, if you're going to buy stocks, you have to be prepared to do your research. But that's like everything else, right? You always want to do your research. So I hope that kind of helped you with understanding a little bit of ETFs versus buying stocks. We will talk about how to buy stocks in the future. We will talk about different companies or different platforms that you can use. I'm not going to go through a lot of them. I'm probably just going to give one or two examples, and that's it. And you can go and do your own research because I don't want to influence you too much in the platform you're going to use. And that's about it, kids. So that was stocks and ETFs. And yeah, so I hope that helps you out a little bit. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you on the flip side. All right, have a good one.